Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Decisions of Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be Gregory Goldston from the Decisions Training Team on Monday, this August 25th. We're going to go over the stuff on the right first before we hop into the environment. So, first and foremost, take a look at our Decisions Training YouTube channel. We do put new stuff there, including previous Lunch and Learns, different how-to videos for certain modules, for certain types of steps, for certain steps all on their own, and for a whole bunch of other things to deal with decisions. So highly recommend taking a look there if you are trying to learn more about the product or maybe a particular feature of the product. Below that, we have the Decision Solutions Marketplace. If you're not going to be going to the YouTube videos to learn from there, you can just grab a project from the marketplace, pull it into your environment for free, and then just pull what pieces you want to use from it. We've got quite a bit of variety to pull from in that marketplace, like a loan application, the loan calculator application. We've got the AI fuzzy finder and a whole bunch of other ones. So highly recommend taking a look at those. And then you can sign up for the Decisions product roadmap review by going to decisions.com/events. This is going to be a series of meetings that you can sign up for that will give you insight into the features that are coming into the platform in newer versions of Decisions. So, highly recommend taking a look at that if you're curious about what's coming down the pipeline. With that all being said, it is time to go into my environment now and start addressing some of these questions. So give me just a moment while I swap over. This typically doesn't take too long. And there we go. All right, we're in. Now let me bring up the Q&A. We did have one pre-submitted question, so that will take precedence, and then we'll address what's in the Q&A. So first and foremost, we got one from Marvin that was asking about utilizing dynamic data rows to populate data pair values inside of decisions. I'm going to allow you to talk, and then let's go over this to make sure that we have the correct idea of what we're trying to do here. So you're getting a list of dynamic data rows from something. I'm just going to use CSV.
Well, I'm building them manually.
You're
That's the trick.
you're building dynamic data rows manually.
Yes,
How are you doing that?
that's the question.
Ah, I see. So you're trying to put things into the dynamic data row type from data pair values and then pass them into what?
It's gonna do some data validation on the end, but just for example, if I wanted to create for simplicity, I wanted to create an array of dynamic data rows, and a key value pair might be a state abbreviation and the state. Let's
Okay.
just say I had 5 states and I wanted a list of those 5 states. How would I go about shoving that information into a dynamic data row?
I would say it depends on where you're getting the information
I'm
from.
hard coding it.
You're hard coding it.
Yes, just make them constants.
Okay. I guess the reason I'm asking all these questions is
Mhm.
because we have a lot of different steps that deal with dynamic data rows and converting to them from certain types and certain like files or functions or that sort of thing. So I'm just
Okay.
trying to see if there's a use case that would work
Okay.
best for what you're trying to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so like for example, if I go the Excel has a bunch of them. Where is it? Create new Excel file automatically creates file data, but then no, wait, this is not the right one. Hold on. Where to go? Where to go? Where to go?
Well, actually, I've got, I'm reading in a spreadsheet that has several columns of emails.
Okay.
And I'm validating each of those emails. But if for some
Ah,
reason I want to know which email failed, I need to know what column they came from. So I'm building a separate data row, like a key value pair that says, okay, this email is of type manager. This email is of type um, general do flunky. This type is, just to give it a label, and then I can spin through them in a loop and use the label to know which one was invalid.
I see. Let me talk about this. Might be what you're looking for then for each
Okay.
Excel or CSV row. What it is it takes in either a spreadsheet in any one of these formats. I'm going to pick
Right.
CSV for simplicity and then say
Sure.
it's comma delimited. All right. You put
Right.
in your constant file and it goes through each individual dynamic data row like a for loop.
Right.
And then you can have something down here that would hit. I know the validation process is probably going to be longer than this,
Well,
but let's say you have
it's the
something.
validation that's right. I've got that part where I import the data, but I need to validate the columns within each row.
Okay.
That's where
So,
I'm building I wanted a generic structure that I didn't have to create a data structure that was going to be a use one time kind of thing.
well, that's why I'm suggesting this is because when you're going through dynamic data row, it has the columns in that type, right? Yeah, if I go to
Right,
example,
but you don't know what column one, column two, column three. Right, right. You've got those labels. It's just field one, two, three, four, five, six, however many. But you
right.
don't know that column one is the manager, column two is the general do flunky, column three is the guy that gets the job done. You don't want to, it just
Okay. No, I get what you're saying. This doesn't tell you what those columns are unless you're mapping them to a data structure, but you're trying to do a data value pair because you don't want to create a data structure.
correct.
Okay. So I guess this is my question. How do you know which columns you're trying to check against in your logic if that can change each time?
When I'm building the list, I just take column one, and the intent was to take column one, create a key value pair with the value itself and a label, and that would be index one in my new list. Go to the second field in your input, create the second entry. In other words, you got to have an inner loop to process each of those input values.
Okay. Okay.
That may not be explaining it well enough. Sure, you've got the outer loop that processes each row, but I need an inner loop to evaluate field one through however many I use.
Okay. And you're validating that against an API, against itself.
I've got a subflow that does the validation, but I wanted to send it through a loop so to reduce the coding and number of steps called,
Right.
because that's what I did originally. I just set up a step to say, hey, call this validation code and made a call for each email. But this is just one example. There have been several times where I just wanted a generic structure that I could put some data in without having to create a data structure that was going to be a quick use and be done with it. And I've looked at the enums and don't think that that's a option for what I wanted to do. Just I was
Right.
hoping for something generic.
I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just trying to think
Right.
this through of how to approach this. If we're going through and you have the object that's setting up there and that's going to elicit data pairs, and can an object be one of these? I think I've got an Excel or CSV that I can test. Give me just a moment. Let's see, where did it go? Gonna try and find the I9 one for the yeah, here we go. Didn't mean to do that. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let me just why is it not like that?
I mean, you're going to loop through the rows that way, but now I need to loop through the columns within
Right.
that row.
And you're trying to compare it against each one. I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to make sure that this
Sure.
logic is configured first, and then this is
Okay. All right.
yeah. Why is it not like this? Why is it yelling at me? Is this not CSV? You can't use a constant file. That's amazing. All right, let's do this. Just put a constant here. All right, let's debug this real quick.
And I know the dynamic data row is overkill because of the file stuff,
No, no, it's not a
but it
problem.
was the closest thing that I could, unless there's some generic thing that you could validate each field within that row, or just
Well, I
all the file
can
stuff.
with this, right? I can validate each field. That's not an issue. I can dynamically pass in each data row. I'm guessing it doesn't mind data rows inside of a for each. I'm gonna see if there's a more efficient way to
No,
do this,
it
but
doesn't.
it doesn't like, yeah, the for each because it's technically treating it. And then this is the list of data pairs technically. That would go through. How many of these? Hold on. How many of these does this spit out? We might be able to figure something out. How many of these? So that's got 1, 2, 3. That's 101 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that's less than 101. Why would it? And it just goes up to field 2, 2 items. Well, that makes sense that those aren't in there. And then after all those fields. Interesting when I collapse them. Oh, so it's in each row. Okay, I get what's going on. So it's actually just going to do that. That's not going to help us. Let's think here. Go down the list, check each item. You want to be able to expand it dynamically with whatever's being passed into here. Hold on. I know there's a column step. Give me a moment. Import Excel or CSV by column names. Replace value in column. That would have to go through each individual one, and it would have to know how many dynamic data rows are being passed out as far as what's filled with information. Current row would only go through that, and it would have to be able to check each individual row.
I don't want to limit this to input from a spreadsheet.
What kind of other inputs are you looking for?
I mean, it just any kind of processing that I might want a set of values to do something with. I might not be doing a validation. I go back to the example of a list of 5 states with their abbreviations, and have a way to be able to build a generic structure to house however many columns I want. Maybe 1 column, maybe 10 columns. In this case, it's 2. And then have a list of those objects. I guess I was hoping for a generic object like you could do with a create data step and have that as one entry within the list. That would be the ideal, and this was the closest thing I could find was to build a dynamic data row.
Right. And that may still work. And then if we, well, the object is designed to take in your, generic list of objects and convert it to data pairs. That's exactly what this is designed to do. I guess what the issue is here is you're looking for different, even just within the Excel or CSVs, we're looking for CSVs or Excels that can take a different sort of, well, sizes and structures, right? Not just one type. Let me work on this. Yeah, because this is not what I was.
I've got to leave in
I
a
was
few
thinking the
minutes
ask was
anyway,
about when I initially saw it.
Yeah, I know. I'm still used to my old days of doing jobbing where I could do anything I wanted.
Not a problem. No, I'd be glad to sync with you on this because
Sure.
I'd also like to kind of work with whatever your use case is to understand like what approaches are being taken and
Sure.
yeah, get more context outside of a public lunch and
Okay.
learn call,
All right. That works. We can do that. I can get up with you later in
Yeah,
the week.
absolutely. I'll let you know my availability. I have a lot more on Wednesday than I do today, but I'll still
Okay.
try and sync up with you soon.
All right. Sure. That sounds like a plan.
Cool, cool.
Thanks.
Absolutely. All right, yeah, we'll come back to this. Let's figure this out. All right. So our next question is from Patty and says, "Hello, Greg. I need to design a form with detailed information of data collection. It will be expendable section. Can you please demo how to create this? Thank you." I will need a few more details than that, but I'm listening.
Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Good afternoon, actually.
Yeah, I guess so now. All right. So you're looking for a dashboard with, can you expand what you mean by detailed information of data collection?
Not really a dashboard, a form for people to enter some data. For instance, sample collection and results. So the general information is who collect the sample at what date, what equipment to use, but details is sample 1, whatever the detail, sample 2, sample 3, because that's dynamic. I don't know how many samples they have. So I want to have a section that expandable. If they say, oh, today I have 5 samples, I'm going to insert sample 1, what's my reading, and do a comparison, and sample 2, that detail, like I said, that detail section, it will be expanded as the user needed. If it's only 1 sample, they just fill in and complete. So
okay. where my mind goes to first, and this may be a little overkill, is the data repeater.
Data repeater.
Yes, let me show you what this looks like and how to
Okay.
set it up. Okay, so I'm going to put a data repeater here. I'm going to
Mhm.
drag it across and make it a little bit bigger. We're not going to
Mhm.
create a source just yet. I'm going to call this add sample, and I'm going to call this remove sample.
Mhm.
And then the way that these work is they're going to get connected to this add button, add remove button. And now in order for a data repeater to work, you need a data structure. All right, so I'm going to create this. What this is going to do is this is going to house information for each individual sample. So you mentioned one of the crucial things is details. They have to put in a list of details inside of this, right?
Well, detail, it's a list of things, but you don't need the detail itself. Oh, you're talking about the section name. Okay. Yeah.
So
Um,
what else needs to be what needs to be collected on a per sample basis, if that makes
let's say
sense?
sample number.
Okay.
Sample number is one.
Okay. I'll put an integer here.
Let's say reading one.
Reading?
Yeah, reading, sample reading. That's it. Let's make it simple. So that's the information in one of the record in detail.
Perfect. All right. Then I'm going to save this right now. And then we are going to go to our create form section and down to data repeaters. We'll create a repeater control. All right. And this is our sample repeater. First, we're going to add on the different things that we need. So we got a text box here. This will be our sample number. Okay. And actually, let me delete that. We made that an integer before, so let me make it a number box.
Yeah, number. Yeah.
Sample number. Output as an integer. Let me make this form a little bigger too. It's just a little bit smaller than I'd like it. So let's make the designer height 120. There we go. Okay. Sample number. We are going to drag over a text box. And this is, what was the last one you mentioned?
The last thing is the reading.
Sample reading. Okay. Okay. And that can be a drop down if there are only specified readings. And then I'll put sample details. And this is going to be a multi-line text box so they can add more information. Okay. So let me mention how this works. The first thing we do is we specify the input type for this form in the form properties over here. And we're going to pick the one that we made, the sample data details. Okay. All right. And now for each one of these, there's going to be this little pencil icon, and we'll pick from these sample details which one matches up, right? So this is our details. This is our reading. And then here is our number. Okay. Now that this is created, I'm going to exit outside of this and go back to our main form down here. And we're going to pick our source, and we will pick our sample repeater, and we will call this some sort of data name. This can be collected samples. This is just what it outputs to the flow that is calling this form. It's going to be a list of that type. So now that this is created, let me show you what happens when I run this. All right, let's make a flow. And then pass this over here. We don't need anything input initially. And when we debug this, anytime I click add sample, I can add another one to this row. It passes out a list, and whichever one I click on, if I accidentally added one, I can click on this and remove it instead.
Okay.
Is that something that you're kind of looking for?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I have a lot more information, but the idea is like this. Yeah. it's adding rows as needed. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So one other thing I would recommend for your structure is if you're trying to tie this to your other main structure here, I would add another field. It doesn't necessarily need to be in the data repeater, but I would add another field that would allow this information to be tied to an individual record, right?
You read my mind. Yeah, that's exactly the case. I do need to do that because
Yep.
it's not a separate form. It's related to other, locations, specifications. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then what you might look for is a dashboard that looks something like this. Let's go to my insurance claim and we'll go to our not security. Where is it? Here we go. So anytime I click on one of these, it's going to pass in anything that's tied to it over here, right? These are actually two different data structures, but they're linked together. Parent-child reporting, that's what's going on right here.
So let me recap. It's kind of a data repeater. It's kind of like a sub form. I have a main form. I create a data repeater and insert it into the main form.
That is
that
correct.
allowed me to do, okay.
And notice the out. I'm going to go back to this. Notice the output on what actually gets passed out from this. Oh, wrong one. Hold on. So the output here is going to be any selected data repeater. If you want one, that is, if you want a particular sample selected, you have that. That doesn't sound like what you're using for your use case, but you have that information here. But then you also have collected samples, which is a list of all of that data type with all that information in it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I need to test it out. I'm sure once this created, I might have more questions. But the idea here will take me a little while to make it work.
No worries.
Great. Yeah.
Jasmine, there is a document in our resources on parent-child reporting. Would you mind adding that to the chat for Patty?
Yes, please.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. I'll save that one. Thank you very much, Greg.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
All right. And then we got another question now from Joe. It says, any way to enlarge the combo box control? They are small and hard to click. All right. Let me let you talk here. So let's.
I think I wrote combo, but I think I meant checkbox.
Oh, checkbox. Gotcha. I was thinking it's like I think you can change the size of the drop down. Okay, checkbox. That makes more sense. Let's try it. Okay. So this tiny thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of
All right.
small.
I gotcha. Outside of CSS, let's see if we can alter this. So, use form font, translate text, control validation, say. I'm assuming this only changes the text, not the actual size of the control. So if I put 45, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And we make
Yeah,
it
no matter how big you
bigger.
make the word, the little checkbox is still small.
That sounds like a CSS target. Let me check my information here. Give me just a moment. I'm looking into it. Give me just a moment. Let's check our properties. Where's my selector? We're in styles. Yep. Designer class. Let me preview this and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, that's what I was thinking might happen. Okay. Checkbox, height 16, width 16. Let me change this. Let's make it 30. And a height of 30. Yeah, that's how you make a bigger checkbox. Okay. So you'll need some CSS for this. The CSS that you're going to want to apply to is to the DP check holder right here. Input type checkbox, and you just want to change the width and the height.
Okay, is it 16 like the default that they give you?
Yeah, that's the standard 16 pixels high. So you can make it larger by just applying some CSS to the checkbox control on this class.
All right, and then one last question was, if I had a working web page that had many, many links in it to internal programs here, I could take that web page and post it in decisions, correct?
Yeah, you should be able to. You're talking about like a dashboard that users view that is on decisions made public, right? And then they
Yeah. In other words, I don't want to recreate every link and make a brand new page in decisions that points to, 100 links on this one page. I'd rather just import that page and then all those links.
Oh, okay. Where did you make the page?
Page is made in visualbasic.net, Visual Studio.
Let me confirm if that can be imported. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's important. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, CSS for the checkbox. Actually in decisions 914, let me make this big again. This is a pretty cool feature that we added now is for the view down here, you can add multiple CSS classes with just a drop down. It was something you could still do before, but it was a little bit more convoluted. But now you can just pick multiple classes you want to apply to any sort of form control. So pretty quick and easy way to do that now.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Cool. That is all the questions that I've got queued up currently. And then let me check something on that page that I just made as far as your second question there, Joe. Where did we go? Okay. Even if you couldn't import it into decisions, I do wonder if you could just pass in the URL for the display and just make that your whole page. Let me delete this. And let me delete this too. I don't want to split these. Let's delete that. So just one large HTML text viewer. Oh, he left. But if you do watch this again, Chaco, you should be able to you might be able to just use an HTML display on a page and then just link that to your outside form instead of trying to import it into decisions. Vitali, I see you've got something to comment on this. What you got?
When you said that you can add multiple CSS classes, so what's that mean? So for example, if you add two classes and for example, you have like color in one class color blue and in one class color red, how's that gonna work?
I don't know which one takes precedence. If that, like, I don't know in particular CSS interactions. If one is set to blue, one's set to red, and you add both the classes, I don't know how it's decided which of those is more important unless you've got an important tag on one of them and which one takes over.
Well, what I meant is that they are similar. So either both of them important or one of them like they are not important.
Right. That's what I mean. I get what you're asking. I don't know how it determines like which one is here. For example, this should have a CSS class on it. Where is it? Yeah, so this actually this one's probably going to show up more. Yeah. So this view CSS class, right? So you pick one from here, add it in, pick another one, add it in. I don't know how those individual classes interact with each other. I'm not even sure if decisions is doing that. More so it might just be how multiple CSSs apply to anything, which one takes precedence. I'm not certain.
And that's in 914, right?
914, that's right. That's where you get the drop down for, well, there's always the drop down, but this is now the multi-select drop down. So you can add
Yeah, I got
multiple
that.
with this. Yeah.
Okay, I'll test that.
Yeah. Let me know what you find. I'd be curious. All right, y'all. Let me give it, what is this? 12:37. I'm gonna give it another minute. No one else new joins or no other questions pop up, then I think we'll just wrap it up early. Yeah, version 914 came with quite a lot of new features. So, for example, we do have one here. This one's pretty cool. So you now have the ability to display these little conditional icons based upon other information in the row. This is no longer exclusive to the custom actions icon in advanced data grids. You can put this in reports as well. And for inline edits, you now have the ability to wrap while preserve spacing, which is going to be really nice. And you'll notice the inline editor has changed, right? So it's not just all one line now. I can do this inside of it. It's a multi-line dropdown. And what I'm actually doing is inline edit with multi-select now, as far as advanced data grids, which is also a new feature. So I can output multiple of my edited entries now inside of decisions through the advanced data grid. All right. Well, it has actually been.
I have
Oh,
a
yeah.
question. Yes. Can you use HTML in a cell on the report or data grid?
Can you use HTML in a cell in a data grid? Good question. You can have the displaying of a flow inline field to pass out a HTML. It would take a very long time to load, but you should be able to do that. So if I went over here.
So the question is that gonna render that HTML or is it just gonna be like HTML code?
I've had it render HTML in the past. Or no, it was URL. Where'd it go? I used where'd it go? Open URL inline field. That's what I utilized in order to basically display a YouTube video inside of every single row. It was slow. I would not recommend it on large reports. I would recommend alternatives if you don't have to use this. But yeah, that should display a URL that can be pasted inside and actually render.
So is that just for URL or you can render any HTML code?
I do not know if it works for any HTML code. I can take a look at what works. URL, display text. Oh, this might be the wrong one, actually. Let me check if it's another one. Give me a moment. Yeah, because that's not using... Yeah, this might be the wrong calculated column. Give me a moment. Please tell me it's not the flow inline field. Create flow that runs and then title, and then that outputs information. Let me confirm. So what is this? Wrap, text options, override. Specific value source, show icon. Let me add one more. Let me see if I can confirm which one I did this last time with. I know you can display a URL that pops up over here and shows information. I know that. Is it image URL inline field? Yeah, Vitaly, let me confirm that. I'll have to do a little bit of testing, and I should have this ready to roll by the next time I'm doing lunch and learn on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as if HTML works for that. All right, cool. Good question. All right. I think we're going to end it now then. No one else new has joined. I'm not seeing any more stuff in the Q&A. So thank you all very much for attending. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. Oh, and wait, there's some stuff in the chat. Oh, fantastic. Yes, Jasmine, that looks perfect. Yes, thank you. All righty. See y'all later.